Hello, welcome to Linear AutoCAD Tutorials. Don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to our channel for more design videos. In this video, we're going to be learning the trim command and the extend command. Let's dive in. For the trim command, the shortcut is TR in your keyboard and enter. And the first thing the trim command will ask you for is to select the object. The object you're selecting is the boundary, which means the object you want to trim will not be trimmed beyond this boundary. If we select this center circle as our boundary and we enter, we're ready to trim. Next thing is to trim. So if we toggle our box inward, you can see that it's ready to trim, but it's not going beyond the boundary. If we toggle outward, it's ready to trim again, but it's not going beyond the boundary. So if we click here, we can trim. Now, while trimming, if you've trimmed beyond the boundary and the object is on the other side of the boundary, it wouldn't be trimmed. Now you can see this. I can't trim this object. But assuming I want to do away with this line, what do I do? You check your command line. There's an option that says erase. So the erase option while you are trimming will permit you to erase a line that doesn't have a boundary attached to it. So if I select the erase option on my command line, the second to the last, I can erase this line. Can you see that? Select this line and enter, and it has been erased. When I'm done trimming, I click the enter option and it deactivates the command. The second way to activate the trim command is to use the trim icon, which can be found in the Home tab Modify panel. The trim icon is the scissors icon, which is the third icon on the top for the Modify panel. If you don't have that, click on the drop down just beside it and you should find the trim command. So we select the trim. Now we are ready to trim again. And what we need to do is to select the boundary. But assuming we want to select the whole object that's every point of intersection as a boundary, all we need to do is just enter once we are requested to select the object. And when we toggle our box around the object, it's ready to trim up to this boundary. We toggle this way, it's ready to trim again up to the next boundaries, the two lines. We bring it this way, it's ready to trim up to the next boundary. So we can continuously trim, assuming every intersection point is a boundary. So if I select this now, I can trim this and I enter. The next things we are going to treat are some functions within the command line that you can use to trim. So if I select my trim icon, the scissors icon right here, and I'm ready to trim, and I give it a boundary as usual, I select this as my boundary and I enter, then if we check the command line, we have several options. We have the cutting edge, the fence, the cross, the mood, the project, the edge, and the erase. We're going to be treating the fence and the project. For the fence, let's select the fence option. The fence option will permit you to create a fencing line that would be assumed as selecting every single trimming object. So we can create a fence line. I can click here and drag my fence. You can see the fence. And as the fence crosses a line or an object, it's being trimmed up to the boundary. So I click here, I click here, I click here, and I enter. And we can see that our object has been trimmed. So when we're done trimming, we can enter again and it deactivates the trim command. The next option we are going to try is the project. For the project, it permits you to project your boundary up to infinity. Now, for other commands, when you try to trim and the object you want to trim is not within the range of the boundary, it wouldn't be trimmed. But for project, it permits you to project the boundary. Now, we are going to trim part of this line using this as our boundary. So let's select the trim option and select this as our object, as boundary, then enter. And let's go to our command line and select project. For project, after selecting that, we need to pick between none, UCS, and view. So let's pick none. So when we pick none now, you can see that this is our boundary. So we can try to trim this line. Can you see that? You can trim this line, assuming that this boundary will extend to the end here. So if you put it here, it trims this, and if you put it here, it trims this. We need to observe that trim and extend are very sensitive to the sides in which you touch. So you need to be careful the sides you are touching on the object you want to either trim or extend. So let's click here, and we've trimmed this object, and we can enter. Moving on to the extend command. The shortcut for the extend command is EX on your keyboard. EX and enter. Now, as usual, you are going to give it a boundary or an object. Now, this object as a boundary is going to be the limits in which your object can be extended to, the object you want to extend. So if I select this line as a boundary and enter, I'm ready to extend. But for extend, the boundary is drawn to infinity. So we can toggle our mouse here, and you can see that it's extending this object up to where our boundary is, in as much as our object is extended just below the line. So we click here, and it has extended, and we select this other one, and it also extends it. And it's important to note that all functions treated in the trim command can be applied to the extend, but in terms of extending our object to the boundary. So when we're done extending, you say enter. The same way to extend, if you want to select all objects as extension points, all you need to do is enter when you are asked to select object. So the second way to extend now is to use the option in our home tab, modify panel. Now the extend icon is just within the trim. So when we click on the drop down for trim, we find our extend. So select extend, and we are asked to select the object, which is a boundary. So we just enter again, and every single location is selected as boundary. Now for this, I could toggle my box here, and it extends to that line. I toggle here, it extends to that line. I toggle here too, it extends to this same line as boundary, this same line as boundary. Now I move to show you the sensitivity of the direction. Now if I toggle just below this, it means I'm at the lower edge of this line, and to assume that the extension point is different. So if I do this, it's extending it to the center of this circle. So I can do it for this one too. It extends, and so on and so forth. That will be all for this video. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment below to tell us what videos you'd like to see subsequently. Thank you for watching.